We'll begin the Gemara today on Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, towards the top of Daf Yud Ches. So it says, Mosiv Rav Huna Bar Chia, about maybe 10 lines from the top of the Yamud. So we're in the middle of a sugya here. The Gemara started speaking about, there's a machlokes here, between Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda benegei to Yesh Zike or Ein Zike, which means when you have a Yevama and she is destined to get married to a Yavam, there's a connection. But there was no Yibum yet. The question is, what does that connection mean? Do we say because of this connection, so now even if he never ends up marrying her, she passes away, so then the Yavam is going to be asa to her mother. Just like a person is asa to get married to his wife's mother, this Yevama that was destined to get married to her, that connection is strong enough, similar to a wife, that Isurim will apply to the arayis of this Yevama like it is to a wife. Or I say, no, Ein Zika, that, she's destined to get married to him, but not yet. It's only a Zika, that there's a connection that she should get married, and therefore, if she passes away, or even when she's alive, could be, and it depends if it's one brother or two brothers, there were different details the Gemara spoke about, but Ein Zika, there's no connection, she's not his wife yet. That was the machlokes. So the Gemara brought this here, because we're going to have a question now from the Mishnah in the beginning of the Perek, to bring a raya to this machlokes. Let's see. So what did we learn in the beginning of the Mishnah? The beginning of the Mishnah was speaking about the halacha of Eishes Achiv Shlei Haya Ba'Lamai. So you had Reuven and Shimon. Reuven was married to his wife and he passes away without any children. And then what happens? Levi is born. A third brother is born. And Shimon, the Mishnah said, in the second case of the Mishnah, Shimon did not yet do any yibum for Reuven's wife, but Asaba Maimer. It said in the Mishnah, Asaba Maimer, he went and did Maimer, which is a Kiddusha Midrabanan. And then Umeis, then after that he passes away. So the Mishnah said, Shniya Chayletzes V'loi Misyabemes. The Tzara, the second wife, the Tzara of this Yevama, so you can do Chalitza and not Yibum. Why? Because Maimer is not a full real marriage. It's only a marriage with the Rabbanon. So because it's a marriage with the Rabbanon, this tzara is she a tzara of the Yevama, which is a Eishes Achav Shlei Haya Ba'Lamai? The answer is yes and no. Yes, because there was a Maimer, but no, because there wasn't a full Yibum. So therefore, she does Chalitza and not Yibum. That's what the Mishnah said. So now the Gemara explains, Frek the Gemara, not time David Ba Maimer. The reason why the tzara of Shimon is affected by this Yevama that he wasn't Meyavim yet, but he did Maimer, is because he did Maimer. At least it was a partial marriage over here. So therefore, his second wife is a tzara of this Yevama that he did Maimer for her. And therefore, she will not only be able to do Chalitza. But if he did not do even Maimer, there was nothing, there was not Yibum, which is Menatayre, and not even a Kedusha Midrabanan. So then what would be the halacha? Shniya, the second wife, which is the Tzara, Nami Yevum Miyavme. She can do Yibum. She can go ahead and do Yibum for Levi, that is. Right? And even though there is a Yevama here that was destined to get married to Shimon. There was a Zikah here. There's the wife that Shimon is married to. And now there's this Yevama that Shimon is supposed to get married to. There's a Zikah. But if he did not do any Yibum yet for her, and Shimon passes away, now Levi can go ahead and do Yibum with the Tzara. Frag the Gemara, now v'i amrit yesh zikeh. If you're going to say that when there's a Yevama that's destined to get married to the Yavam, so there's a connection here, so, and it's like similar to a wife already, so if so, Havyalot, Saras, Eishes, Achiv, Shlehaya, Bailamai. Why shouldn't I say that the wife of Shimon is already considered to be a tzara of this Yevama, and this Yevama is a Eishes, Achiv, Shlehaya, Bailamai? The Levi was not alive when she was married to Reuven, and therefore, even though Shimon was not miyavim this woman yet, but nevertheless there was a zikah, and the zikah is already considered to be like a wife, and therefore the tzara, the other wife of Shimon, should be a tzara of Eishes Achav Shlehaya Ba'Lamai, and therefore there should be no yibum and no chalitza either. So from here we see ein zikah, that the fact that he did not marry her yet, there's no zikah. So and for the Gemara. Bezika, this word goes together actually. That tzara is Eishes Achav Shlehaya Ba'Lamai. Bezika, through the zika, this tzara is Eishes Achav Shlehaya Ba'Lamai. And for the Gemara, Rabbi answers and says, no, that's not how you're supposed to be medayik the Mishnah. The diak of the Mishnah is actually in the reverse. Who adin? The truth is that even if Shimon did not only he did not do Yibum, but he did not do Maimer either. He didn't do any Kedushin in her whatsoever. Shniya mechlas chalza yivum lo yimeyavma. The wife of Shimon, the second wife of Shimon, which she's the tzara, she would only be able to do chalitza and not yibum. Why? Because of this zika. Because we say yesh zika, that connection in itself makes the second wife a tzara of eshes achav shleihaya b'lamei. Why does the Mishnah mention that Shimon already did do something? Shimon was Makadasher with Maimer, and that's the reason why the second wife can't go get married to Levi. It's to exclude what Beis Shammai holds. What does Beis Shammai say? The Amri Maimer kaina kinyan gomer. Beis Shammai's opinion is that Maimer is not only a kinyan midrabanan. It's a kedushin that works completely minatayra, and therefore, according to Beis Shammai, once you do Maimer, it's equivalent to doing Yibum, and just like by Yibum, the second wife can't do is a total Eishes, a tzara of Eishes achav shleihaya b'lamai, and therefore there's no Yibum and there's no chalitza either for the second wife. So Beis Shammai would hold that the same thing would apply to Maimer. Maimer is equivalent to Yibum. Therefore, the Mishnah is coming Kamash Malan. The Mishnah is coming to tell me that Maimer is only a kedushin midrabanan. And even if you can't do Yibum anymore now, but you still will need Chalitza. That's the main thing that the Mishnah was coming to say, to exclude Beis Shammai's opinion. But not to tell me that if there would be only the Zika without Maimer, then the Tzara could go ahead and get married and without any problem whatsoever. No, even without it, yesh Zika. Eisvei Abaye asked from another Mishnah. It says, Shnei Achim Ba'olam Echad. Two brothers that were alive together in the world. And one was married to his wife, the other married to her wife, his wife. And one passes away without children. Now the second brother stood up and he was going to do Maimer in the Yevamos. The Kiddushin midrabanan in this Yevamos. He didn't get a chance to do that Maimer. Now a third brother is born. So this third brother, this is the case of Eishes achav shleihaya b'lamei. He was not alive when Reuven was married to his wife. Umeis, and now the brother Shimon that was going to do Yibum, or Maimer actually, he passes away. So what does the Mishnah there say? Harishayna yaitze mishum Eishes achav shleihaya b'lamei. So this wife that Maimer was not done with her yet, the Reuven's wife that Reuven passed away, so she is Yaitzish, now there's no Yibum that could be the Shimon passed away, Levi can't do Yibum anymore, the second wife, which is the wife that Shimon was married to, so with her, he can do either Chalitza or Yibum. Since Shimon, so here it says Befedish, this halacha, the diak that we were medaik before, over here it says the Befedish. Since Shimon never did any Yibum or Maimer in Reuven's wife, there was a Zikah though. She was destined to get married to him, but he never actually did any Yibum, so therefore the wife of Shimon is not a tzara of this woman that's Eishes achav shleihaya b'lamei. They never did Yibum. So here the Gemara says, if you're going to say that there is that connection, and because of the Zika it's already to some extent like a wife, have you lot sadas Eishes achav shleihaya b'lamei b'Zika. Shimon's wife should be considered to be a tzara of Reuven's wife, that they weren't married yet, but there's a Zika, and the Zika is like a marriage, and therefore she should be like a tzara of Eishes achav shleihaya b'lamei. And how does it say that Levi could go ahead and do Yibum or Chalitza in Shimon's wife? Answers the Gemara, so Hamani Rab Meiri. This Mishnah here, we have to say this is Rab Meir. Or it's actually a Brais, I believe. The Gemara will bring it later, we'll see. The Omar, we'll see later, it's going to say Befedish that this is Divrei Rab Meir. And Rab Meir holds Ein Zika. You're right. As we brought it in the beginning of this whole sugya, this whole question of whether Yesh Zika or Ein Zika is really a Machlekes Tanoim. And Rab Meir holds that Ein Zika. So that's this Brais here. Does Rab Meir take a hold that there is no Zika, that connection by the Yibum is not equivalent to a wife? But what we learned in the Mishnah that says as follows. There are four brothers, and two of these brothers, Reuven and Shimon, are married to two sisters. Umeisu, and both Reuven and Shimon passed away. So the Reuven and Shimon married to the sisters, passed away, and I have another two brothers that are still alive, Levi and Yehuda. So what does it say here? Levi and Yehuda cannot do Yibum for any of these sisters. The only thing they can do is Chalitza. Why can't they do Yibum? So this is something we had before. It's because each one of these women is going to be a Chais Zekukasai. If you're doing Yibum to one of them, you're doing Yibum to a sister of the other one, which is also Zakuk to you. They're both, you have to do Yibum for both of them. So each one, there's a sister that is a Chais Zekukasai. Remember this concept? So over here, because there are two sisters that are Zakuk, that are connected to you at the same time, you can't do Yibum from either one of them. Only Chalitza. Question is, if Rab Meir holds that the connection of the Zika by Yibum is not, there's no connection there. It's not equivalent to a wife in any way. So if so, why are we saying that there's an issue of doing Yibum with a sister, when there's two sisters that are there for Yibum? Hani mitrei batikasyan. These two sisters, so they were the wives of two different men, two different houses, two different men. So if so, hi liyabim choda, let one brother, Levi, let him go and do Yibum for one of these sisters, and v'hai liyabim choda, and let the other one do Yibum for the other sister. If you're going to say that both of these sisters are already there's a zikah, they're already connected to each one of the brothers, so you can't come and say, let Levi do a Yibum for one and Yehuda do a Yibum for another. You can't separate them. Levi and Yehuda are each, there's a zikah to each one of the brothers. So each one of the brothers have already a connection to both of them together. So you can't actually go and have any relations with any of them, because it's like having relations with your wife's sister. But if there's no zikah, so then the real connection starts only after you do the Yibum, so let each brother do a Yibum to another one of them. There's no issue. So the Gemara answers, Mishom, the Kasava, the reason is, over here there's a Gzeirim Midrabanan. Even though Rab Meir holds Take Ein Zikah, there's no connection, but there's a Gzeirim Midrabanan why you can't do this. Mishum the Kasava, because Rab Meir holds, Asr Levatl Mitzvahs Yevamin. We don't allow you to do something that might lead to be mevatel the whole mitzvah of Yibum. How would that, if you would be meyabim one of these sisters, how would it lead to be mevatel the mitzvah of Yibum? So what could happen is as follows. The dilma may be ad meyabim chad, if one brother will do Yibum for one of these women, one of these sisters, so then mayis idach, the other brother will pass away, and now the other woman will be stuck v'kabatlis mitzvahs Yevamin, and then it's going to come out that by you doing Yibum for one of the sisters, you're not taking away the mitzvah of Yibum from the other sister. So therefore you're not allowed to do something that could come to be mevatel the mitzvah of Yibum. It's very interesting. It comes out that because of this gzeira, so what are we going to do instead? We're going to say that you can't do Yibum with either one of them, just chalitza. But if you're just going to do chalitza, so you did not do an action, you didn't go ahead and do something to be mevatel the mitzvah of Yibum. So again, the point is that the gzeira is that you can't be meyavim one of these sisters, because anachanami, there would be an option for the other brother to be meyavim the other sister, but what happens if the other brother passes away? So now you, by being meyavim one sister, are taking away the ability of the other sister to do her mitzvah of Yibum, to do the mitzvah of Yibum with the other sister. And therefore you're being mevatel the mitzvah of Yibum. So this is a gzeirim midrabanan, why Rab Meir held that you can't do Yibum here. Frag the Gemara, but we eat. Huh? And a chanami. And a chanami, but it comes out though that you were the cause for the fact that she has to do chalitza, because you were meyab in one of them. Like this, you weren't the one that caused it. Chazal is saying, go ahead and do chalitza for both of them. If you marry Yibum, one of them, you're causing this, that now the other one, you can't do Yibum.
He's the cause.
No, but it's a chashash that since he could die, it's going to come out that the action that you did caused that the sister can't do chalitza Yibum. No, I know it's interesting. It's an interesting thing here. The Gemara says the Gemara. The Gemara is going to question this in a second, but the Gemara stays with this pshat here. Let's see. Frag the Gemara. V'i ein zike. If there's no zike, if you hold that in this connection by the time of zike, we don't consider it to be a connection, tibatel. It also shouldn't matter if you go ahead and you're mevatel the mitzvah of Yibum. Why not? Where do we see that the one that holds that there's no zikah also holds that it doesn't matter if you're mevatel the mitzvah of Yibum? The Rabbi Gamliel Ama ein zikah, as we'll see here, Rabbi Gamliel holds that there is no zikah. And also, what does he hold? Umutter levatel mitzvah Yevamin. And he also holds that it doesn't matter if the action that you do is going to be mevatel the mitzvah of Yibum. Where do we see this? It's not because there's a Mishnah later that says as follows. The Gemara only brings the middle of the Mishnah. Rashi here brings the beginning of the Mishnah. We're talking over here in that Mishnah about two brothers that are married to two sisters. But the case there is, one brother is married a regular marriage to a woman that's a Gedaila with a regular marriage. The other brother was married to a Ketana, which was not a regular marriage. Her brothers married her off. And what's the halacha by a marriage of a Ketana? She has the option to do miyun. She could just reject the whole marriage. Okay, and what happened? The brother that was married to the Gedaila passed away. And now, the brother that's married to the Ketana has to do yibum to this wife of the brother that passed away. Now the problem is he can't do yibum with her. Why not? It's a sister to his wife. Achais ishtay. This is the case of an erva where there's no mitzvah of yibum. But the thing is though, this Ketana is really only married a marriage with the Rabbanon. If this Ketana will be memayin in her marriage, that will enable the Gedaila to do yibum. Oh, so the Tanakama in that Mishnah says, we teach the Ketana that in such a case, in order to allow the Gedaila to fulfill her mitzvah of yibum with this man, let the Ketana be memayin in her marriage, and give the Gedaila the ability to do yibum. That's what the Tanakama there says.
Yibum is on the woman or on the man?
It's on the man. Okay, Nechanami, the mitzvah is on the man, but in order for him to be able to do the mitzvah, we tell his wife, which is a Ketana, to be memayin in the marriage, and he'll be able to do the mitzvah of yibum with the Gedaila. That's a Tanakama, but Rabbi Gamliel disagrees with this. Rabbi Gamliel says, Im miyana. If she decides to reject her marriage, good, so then you can do the mitzvah of yibum. Vim loy miyana. But if not, tamtin at shetagdil. So then they'll wait until she becomes a gedaila. V'teitze halazu mishum achaisisha. And then once she's a gedaila, so now this Yevamo that was waiting over here to get married, so then she leaves and she's it's achaisisha, and she doesn't have to have any yibum and no chalitza, nothing whatsoever. Okay, so what do you see over here from the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel? You see over here that Rabbi Gamliel says ein zika. There's no zika whatsoever. How do you see this? Because Rabbi Gamliel says that the Ketana that he's married to, he could continue living with her. And then she becomes a Gedaila and she could stay married to him. If I say Yesh Zika, this Ketana that he's married to now is a sister of this other wife that there's a Zika to him. That Zika, that she's the Gedaila is now also like his wife. So this Ketana that you were married to only midrabanan, how could you live with this Ketana after this point that there's a Zika? So he holds ein Zika. Okay? And he also holds you could be mavatal the mitzvah of yibum. We allow him to remain married with the Ketana, even though it's only a kedusha midrabanan, even though that's going to be mavatal the mitzvah of yibum for the Gedaila. So we see that the Rabbi Gamliel that holds ein Zika also holds that there's no issue that you're being mavatal the mitzvah of yibum. So it's the same thing we should say according to Rabbi Meir. So the Gemara asks on this, how could you ask such a question? Amalei, the Rabbi Gamliel, the Rabbi Meir Karamis, you're asking a question because this is what Rabbi Gamliel holds. He puts these two together, that we say ein Zika, and we also say that it doesn't matter if you mavatal the mitzvah of yibum. So I should say the same thing according to Rabbi Meir. What's happens? Maybe Rabbi Meir holds ein Zika, but at the same time Rabbi Meir holds we should be concerned about being mavatal the mitzvah of yibum. So the Gemara answers, Loi, that was not my question. The question is different. Hachi ka'amrinan, or the Bachas Geiris, Hachi ka'amina. This was my question. Rab Meir chayish afilu l'sfeike. What we said before was that Rab Meir is concerned about being mevatel, the mitzvah of yibum, even in a case where the whole thing is a doubt, if you're going to be mevatel, the mitzvah of yibum, right? What did we say before? That if you get married to one of the sisters, so then it could be that the brother will pass away, and then if the other brother passes away, you won't be able to do yibum for the second sister. The whole thing is a chashash. How do you know the other brother is going to pass away? So you're being mechadish that the concern about being mevatel of mitzvah of yibum goes so far, even in a matzav of a suffix. But over here we see Rabbi Gamliel afilu levadei lechayish. Even in a case where you're definitely being mevatel the mitzvah of yibum, we're still not concerned about that. We allow this person to remain married to the ketana, even though for sure it's being mevatel the mitzvah of yibum. So therefore the Gemara is saying sort of a kal v'chaymer, even though this is Rabbi Meir and this is Rabbi Gamliel, but what the Gemara is saying is, if Rabbi Gamliel is not concerned for vadei being mevatel the mitzvah of yibum, so mistama Rabbi Meir shouldn't be concerned, even at least for a suffix of being mevatel the mitzvah of yibum. But the Gemara rejects this as well and says, no, not necessarily. Dilme man deloi chayish. Rabbi Gamliel that's not concerned about being mevatel the mitzvah of yibum, afil vadei lechayish, even in a case where you're definitely being mevatel the mitzvah is not, it doesn't matter. Man de chayish afil l'sveike chayish. And Rabbi Meir that is concerned about being mevatel the mitzvah of yibum, is geyser, even in a case where it's only a suffix, that he's also concerned then. So you can't ask, these are two different opinions and there's no connection b'chlal. Okay, now the Gemara says, Amalei Abayel Rav Yosef, Had Rav Yehuda. This that we quoted here in the beginning, who was the opinion that said that Yesh Zika, that connection is in some way like a wife already? It was Rav Yehuda before. So he says, Had Rav Yehuda, the Shmuel he. One that really said this was not Rav Yehuda, it was Shmuel. It's nan, because we learned in the Mishnah, Shemeres Yavam, Shekidish Achiv Esachaisa. So you have a Shemeres Yavam that's waiting to get married with Yibum. Shekidish Achiv Esachaisa. So now the brother that was going to be the Yavam was going to marry her. So and another brother went and was Mekadesh, her sister, right? So then what happens? Mishum Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira Amru. So in the name of Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, they said, Oimrim loi, we tell him, Hamtein achiyase achicha maise. Wait until your brother will go and be miyavim this Yevamos. Okay, so what's the point of it? What happens? You have Reuven that was married to his wife and he passes away without children. And now there's a Yibum that has to be done for his wife. And who's alive over here? Shimon and Levi. So Shimon is going to be the brother to do the Yibum. Say Shimon is the Bechayr, he's going to do the Yibum. Meanwhile, Levi goes ahead and marries this Yevamos sister. So now if you're going to say Yesh Zike, that when there's a Zike here, it's like a wife already. So Levi did not yet marry his wife. Levi was Mekadesh, her sister. But the problem is, how could Levi have any relations with his wife that he was just Mekadesh? She's a sister of this Yevamos. If I say Yesh Zike, so then you're having relations with the sister of your this Yevamos, which is already like your wife. So therefore, what we tell Levi is, wait until Shimon is going to go ahead and do Yibum with this Yevamos. Now she becomes fully Shimon's wife. So that Zika that there was to Shimon and to Levi, there's no Zika for Levi anymore because Shimon was fully Miyavamer. Now you can go ahead and fully marry your wife. You can have relations with the sister because two brothers are allowed to marry two wives as sisters. So before Shimon does the Yibum, so then there's a Zika to Levi as well. So he can't marry his wife. But after Shimon does the Yibum, so now Levi could go and marry his wife. So what do we see? This is Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. This is the source, it was mentioned before already, that Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira holds Yesh Zika. That even in that situation, it's already like a wife. Okay, v'amar Shmuel, and Shmuel said about this, halacha Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, that we paskin like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. So we see here, Shmuel was the one that said Yesh Zika. Okay, so in other words, when Rabbi Yehuda said it, it wasn't his own opinion. Rabbi Yehuda was saying this in the name of Shmuel. Amalei, so Rav Yosef says back to Abaye, and the Ida Rav Mai, if it would not be Rav Yehuda saying this in the name of Shmuel, if Rav Yehuda said this in the name of Rav, what would be? Okay, so if you remember in the Gemara before, when it brought Rav Huna, Rav Huna is the one that held Ein Zike. It said that Omar Rav Huna, Omar Rav. Rav Huna said in the name of Rav, Ein Zike. And then it said Rav Yehuda holds Yesh Zike. So now the Gemara is saying, Rav Yehuda said it in the name of Shmuel. So he's saying, and what's if Rav Yehuda would say it in the name of Rav? What would be? So he answers him, Amalei, Kashi de Rava de Rav. So then it would be a contradiction in Rav's opinion. So he says to him, it's not the first time we heard such a thing. Dilma Amiroy Ninu Valiba de Rav. Maybe Rav Yehuda and Rav Huna are arguing what Rav's opinion is. You have many times. Rav Yehuda, Rav Huna, they argue what their Rebbe Rav held. So the Gemara says, no, there's no reason to say that. Kivin de itme mishmei de Shmuel behedye. Since we have it clearly that Shmuel is the one that said Yesh Zike. Mishmei de Rav ka'amiroi. And we had that Rav said the opposite in the name of another Amir. In the name of Rav Huna, or again, Rav Huna said it in the name of Rav, that Ein Zike. So leishafkinon mishmei de Shmuel behedye. There's no reason to leave what we know Shmuel clearly said, and to come and say that Rav's opinion is a machlokes between Rav Yehuda and Rav Huna. So therefore, what Rav Huna said was in the name of Rav, that Ein Zike, and what Rav Yehuda said, that Yesh Zike, that's in the name of Shmuel. There's no reason to say that there's a machlokes amiroi in what Rav's opinion is. So the Gemara Rav Kahana said, Amrita l'shmaite kamei Rav Zvid. I said this statement in the name of Rav Yehuda in front of Rav Zvid min Nerda. And Omar, he said, Aton hachi masnitula. You learned that Rav Yehuda is the one that said this. Anan behedya masnina. We heard and we were told befeirish Omar Rav Yehuda, Omar Shmuel, that Rav Yehuda said this in the name of Shmuel. Shemeres Yavam Shemesa, that a Shemeres Yavam that passed away, Asr B'ima. So the Yavam is not allowed to marry her mother. Why not? Al Mikasava Yesh Zika, because it's as if there's already a connection like a marriage. So the mother is like the mother of your wife. So therefore he holds Yesh Zika. The other Shmuel Taimei, and Shmuel follows his opinion that he said elsewhere. That we pass like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira that holds Yesh Zika. Now the Gemara explains it's tzrichi. We need both of these statements that Shmuel said to tell us this halacha of Yesh Zika. The Yesh Minan Yesh Zika. If Shmuel would only tell us that Yesh Zika, in this case, when a person has the Shemeres Yavam and then he says that Yasa to the mother, I would say Hane Mili Bechad. That's maybe only when there's one brother that's supposed to do the Yibum, so then there's a Zika, there's a very strong connection to him. Avol Betrei, if there's two brothers, maybe loy. Then I don't say Yesh Zika, because it's not a clear connection which brother is going to end up marrying this Yivama. Kamash Malon, that's why he says the halach is like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, because in that case there's two brothers, there was Shimon and Levi. Even over there I say Yesh Zika. If I would say the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, Hava Mina Hanamili Michayim. Maybe this connection of Zika is only while the Yevamos is still alive. Once if she passes away and he never ended up doing Yibum, so then maybe I would say Pakala Zika. Maybe that Zika is already annulled now. It's only while she's alive. Kamash Milan, the Zika Bechdi Loi Paka. That even if it's only a Zika, you never ended up getting married to her with Yibum, nevertheless, even after she passes away, you still are not allowed to marry her mother. It's like she was your wife. This is a Mishnah which is going to be very, very similar to the first Mishnah in the Masechta, in the Pedic that is. This is another case of Eishes Achiv Shloi Haya by Lamai, with one little difference in the case, and over here Rab Shimon is going to argue. Let's see. Shnei Achim, two brothers that were alive together in the world. Umeis Echad Mehen, and one of them passes away, and now the wife is up for Yibum. So what happened here is Shimon, the second brother, already went ahead and did Yibum. After Shimon did Yibum, now a third brother, Levi, is born. Umeis, and then Shimon, that did Yibum, passes away. So according to the Tanakama, this case as well is a case of Eishes Achiv Shleihaya by Lomei. So just to point out, what's the difference between this case and the case that there was in the previous Mishnah in the beginning of the Pedic? Over here, when was Levi born? After Shimon did Yibum. In the case that the previous Mishnah spoke about, Levi was born between Reuven passing away and Shimon doing Yibum. Okay, that in the Lashon of the Gemara, there's Meis, Noilad, Va'achakach Yibum, Reuven passes away, and then Levi is born, and then Shimon does Yibum, or there's Meis, Yibum, Reuven passes away, and then Shimon does Yibum, Va'achakach Noilad. Levi is only born later. Okay, so the Tanakama holds it doesn't make a difference. In any case, because Levi was born later, this woman that was Reuven's wife is considered to be Eishes Achiv Shleihaya by Lama. He wasn't alive then. So therefore, what happens now after Shimon did Yibum and he passed away? Harishayna Yaitzim Shem Eishes Achiv Shleihaya by Lama. So the first wife, which was Reuven's wife, that she is the wife that Levi was not alive when she was married to Reuven, so there's no Yibum for her. Vashniya, and the same thing applies if Shimon had a second wife as well, Mishum Tzarasa. She's the tzara of this woman, and therefore there's no Yibum for her either. Asa B'maimer, like it said in the first Mishnah, the same halacha. Asa B'maimer, if Shimon did not fully do Yibum yet, but he only did Maimer, which is a Kedushim D'Rabbanan, and now Umeis, and now Shimon passed away, so Hashniya Chiletzes V'loy Misya Bemes. The second wife, so you can't do Yibum because of this Maimer, but on the other hand, it doesn't totally absolve from Yibum and Chalitza, you still have to have Chalitza, because it was only a Kedushin Midrabanan. Now Rab Shimon argues on this. Rab Shimon says, Meyabim le'ezem mehen sheyirtza. Levi, that brother that was born later, he can do Yibum to whichever one he wants. Oy Chaylitz, or he can do Chalitza le'ezem and sheyirtza to whichever one he wants. So in other words, Rab Shimon is basically arguing on this whole concept of Eishes Achiv Shaloi Haya by Lamai. Rab Shimon is saying the Levi Taka wasn't alive when she was married to Reuven. Doesn't matter. Levi could go ahead and do Yibum. But now what the Gemara is going to discuss over here is we had two cases. There was the case of this Mishnah and the case of the previous Mishnah. Which case does Rab Shimon argue on? So Rab Shimon argued Af Barishayna, even regarding the case in the previous Mishnah. Not only this Mishnah. How do I know this? Midiktani Mishnah Yisayda. Because we have an extra Mishnah over here, which is Bava Dereisha. The previous Mishnah is considered to be an extra Mishnah. Only reason why I would say the previous Mishnah is to let me know that Rab Shimon argues on this Mishnah and on the previous Mishnah. And the Gemara explains why the previous Mishnah is an extra Mishnah. Laman Katanila. According to who does it have to say the previous Mishnah? If it's coming to say the halach of the previous Mishnah according to the Rabbanan, to say that by Eishes Achav Shlei Haya by Lamai there is no Yibum, you don't have to say the previous Mishnah. It's a Kal V'chaimer from what it said in this Mishnah, as the Gemara explains. Hashte Yibum ulu b'sayif nailad. If in a case that we spoke about in this Mishnah, when Reuven passed away and Shimon did Yibum already, and only after Shimon did Yibum, now Levi is born. So now Levi, when he's born, comes into the world, he now sees Shimon is married to this woman. He's not here in the world, he has nothing to do with this, the history in the past that once Reuven was married to her. So Levi is now living in the world together with his brother Shimon that's married to this wife. What happened in the past that she was once married to Reuven, that doesn't matter to Levi at all. And nevertheless, what did the Rabbanan say over here? Osri Rabbanan. The Rabbanan still say that for Levi, this woman that's now married to Shimon, because her history is that she was once married to Reuven, and then Levi was not alive, she's considered to be Eishes Achav Shlei Haya by Lamai, that was not alive in the lifetime of Levi. So if so, Nailad v'achakach Yibim. If the case was that Levi was born in between, Levi was born after Reuven passed away, before Shimon did Yibim, so Mibaya, do you have to say that in such a case Levi can't do Yibum for her? For sure, over here, Levi was born before Shimon did Yibum, so this is a woman that the connection to Reuven matters to Levi. He's already born here before Shimon did Yibum, and therefore he's for sure considered to be a Eishes Achav Shlei Haya by Lamai. So why do you have to have the halacha of the previous Mishnah? It's understood from what it says right over here in this Mishnah that even if Levi is born later, after Shimon did Yibum, still the Rabbanan hold that it's also for him to do Yibum. So Elolav l'Rab Shimon. The only reason it says both of these cases is because there's a chiddush according to Rab Shimon. The Rab Shimon Itzrich. It's telling me according to Rab Shimon. And v'tana reisha l'diacha koichai de Rab Shimon. It tells you the reisha of the Mishnah, the case of the reisha, to let you know how powerful Rab Shimon's opinion is. That Rab Shimon holds that we don't have the problem of Eishes Achav Shlei Haya by Lamai, not only when Levi is born later, after Shimon already did the Yibum, but even if Levi was born in between Reuven passing away and Shimon doing the Yibum, so l'chayre, Levi is connected now to this woman that was married to Reuven, and he wasn't alive in the lifetime of Reuven. Even then, Rab Shimon does not hold of Eishes Achav Shlei Haya by Lamai. The Tana Sefer, and then it says the case of the Sefer, L'diacha koichein de Rabbanan, to let you know how powerful the Rabbanan's opinion is. That the Rabbanan hold that there's a problem of Eishes Achav Shlei Haya by Lamai, even though Levi was born later after Shimon already did the Yibum. And now the Gemara explains another detail here to clarify this. Really, Rab Shimon should have already argued in the Reisha in the previous Mishnah. So why doesn't it say there that he argues on that? Rab Shimon waited for the Rabbanan to say his opinion fully, both cases, and then he argues on both of these cases. But really, Rab Shimon, even though we have Rab Shimon only in this Mishnah, he argues on the cases of both Mishnahs. But if so, so according to Rab Shimon, where do you have a concept? Where did you apply this concept of Eishes Achav Shlei Haya by Lamai? Which means, you can't say that Rab Shimon disagrees to this altogether. We had the psukim, we learned it out from before. And we learned, so it has to be brothers that were living in the world together. Otherwise, it's Lehaya by Lamai, it becomes like an erva. So where does Rab Shimon apply that to? So the Gemara answers, Bechad ache umis. He only applies that in a case where you had one brother that was alive and then he passed away, and after he passed away, another brother is born. There's no second brother that married her, and now a third brother is born. With one brother that was born and then passed away, and now there's, again, one brother that was married and passed away, and then another brother is born. So then you weren't alive. That's the only case where you weren't alive when the other brother was married to her. Then Rab Shimon holds Eishes Achav Shlei Haya by Lamai. Or Inami, Betrei V'loi Yibim. Yeah, even if you have two brothers, but the second brother did not do any Yibum yet. And V'loi Mis, he did not pass away either yet, but he did not do any Yibum, and there was a second brother that was born. So now for Levi, for this third brother, actually, he's a third brother that's born. For him, it's Eishes Achav Shloi Haya Ba'olamai. The point is, according to Rab Shimon, as soon as a second brother does Yibum, so that's it. He has nothing to do with the fact that she was once married to Reuven. So now for Levi, there's no issue of Eishes Achav Shloi Haya Ba'olamai. Now the Gemara asks on this, fragt the Gemara, we could understand why Rab Shimon would disagree with this halacha of Eishes Achav Shloi Haya Ba'olamai. In a case where Shimon did Yibum already, and then then the third brother Levi is born, so that I can understand why he says this is not Eishes Achav Shloi Haya Ba'olamai. Ki ashkecha b'teira ashkecha. He's alive in the lifetime of Shimon. So Shimon it's Eishes Achav Shloi Haya Ba'olamai. So therefore he could do Yibum with her. But in the case that was the previous Mishnah's case, where Reuven passed away, and before Shimon did Yibum, Levi is born. Levi is born in between. If Levi is born in between, so then my time. Why wouldn't Reb Shimon agree that now for Levi, this woman is a Eishes Achav Shloi Haya Ba'olamai? Yibum was not yet done to Shimon B'chlal. And this is still the wife of Reuven. And now Levi is born. So why would Rab Shimon disagree that this is Eishes Achav Shloi Haya Ba'olamai?
Isn't that the case of Inami B'Trei V'Lo Yibum?
No. Over there, B'Trei V'Lo Yibum is then he did not do any Yibum B'chlal yet, and he's not going to do Yibum. He didn't do Yibum B'chlal. Over here, we're talking about in between. Shimon ended up doing Yibum. But Levi is born in between. So why not? And for the Gemara, this is connected to the point we learned before. Kasavar yesh zike. What Reb Shimon holds is yesh zike, that there is a connection here, that it becomes like a wife for Shimon. As soon as Reuven passes away, this Yevamos is immediately like Shimon's wife already. And there, v'zike keknusa damya. So therefore, since it's already like Shimon's wife, and now Levi is born, Levi comes into the world once this Yevamos is like she's already Shimon's wife. So therefore, for Levi, this has no connection to Reuven anymore. He's here living in the world in the lifetime of Shimon. That's all that matters. Since in the lifetime of Shimon, he's alive, so therefore for Shimon, it's Levi's alive here. So Rabbi Shimon's opinion, according to this, could only be explained if you say yesh zika.